Hey guys, it's Captain Autismos here, and before we get off into the story, will you hear my plea? Do you hate SJWs? Are you forced to adhere to them and their ways in modern academic adult daycares? Well, I say no more! Not only will Trump build a wall by Mexico, but he'll send the SJWs there across the border. And whom, you may ask, is going to save us by keeping them stuck there? Have you heard the word from our Lord and Savior from the Trump Brigade, Captain Levi? He'll crush them any moment they even take a step on American soil that got blown in on the other side. So stand with me, brothers. If Trump is planning on making anime real, then we first need to demand the might of Captain Levi. This has been an ad approved of by the real Donald Trump. Just kidding. Let's get into the video.
Alright, try to excuse the mic quality. Something happened, but either way, my fucking microphone got fucked up, so... sorry.
Now, this is a story that has its origins in more recent times. In fact, it all began 3 years ago at the most, dankest of apartments ever. And by dank, I don't mean the internet slang for great memes, mate. I mean being disgusting. Like jungles full of half-baked animals, anal sludge. You see, in these apartments, you will find all manner of autism, schizophrenia, Tourette's, Asperger's, and loads of other beautiful brain diabetes that just makes us, makes us just, how should I put it? Oh, so special, one might say. This wasn't even, just an apartment. It was originally a hotel. They called it the Center, which sounds, like some cliche name for some scary place you might hear of, and some overly creepy internet campfire story about Ronald McDonald in, some mental gore porn facility run by Mickey D's. But either way, they used to house the mentally retarded. At this place, there was mostly black staff members from neighboring ghettos outside of River Oaks, since this was in Houston, and there was probably a ghetto around every corner. And they had at least one white bitch. So you can tell they would, outsource to the most, should we say, questionably capable of youths who probably had a fried chicken bone to pick with every white guy 3 feet from them. Most of the time, they'd make empty threats that only the elderly residents would follow or be afraid of in any shape or form. Now for me, I was merely a strapping young lad with enough Dragon Balls eventually to leave my mother's basement at the ripe young age of 23, even though I'm 26 by now. Around the time of 2013 was around the time they stopped marketing everything in that shithole to people with mental disabilities and made it available to people without them. The rent was $700 a month, and for a place that was about the equivalent to a college dorm room from some backwater hick town, it wasn't worth much value to anyone other than some fuck desperate enough to get out of his parents' basement, like myself. I suppose what was best about this place, to the untrained eye, was the fact that just by paying the rent, you'd get all your bills paid, 3 free meals a day of nothing but processed shit, and a bunch of neighbors who, resembled those old folk from the retirement home in Happy Gilmore, and the kinds of people who probably live in the most assholian of college dorms. But that's only the outside. The outer shell to this narcotics-infested factory of mental space cases, which you have on the inner core of this seemingly wonderful apple of Eden turned Tartarus, is a place where every fucking person is an utter fucking idiot or a stoned out of their mind mess addict who probably snorts their fucking Ritalin. So on my first day, I was like a kid fresh into Christmas, glad to get away from home, hoping to never see it for the next 9,000 years and just throwing my fists into the air, like I've got gods in my fists and shit tonight, and falling to my knees. It was okay at first, seemed all good and well. That was until I decided to be not so autistic and antisocial and actually talk to my neighbors. First mistake of the 3 years I lived there. These neighbors were the kind who, only treated you like shit if they thought they were your friend or something. Now don't get me wrong, I can dig friends who play a few nasty pranks on each other, as long as it doesn't involve broken bones. But these kinds of people didn't know when to quit. Day in and day out, it was the same bullshit of just knocking on their side of the wall just to fuck with you like you were they were, I don't know, you were their friend and they were a group of retarded kids communicating through Morse code or some shit. Bang, bang, bang! All day and night! To the point that I kept having to, have my headphones on just to be in my room. Or have the TV so loud I couldn't even hear myself talk or think. It was so fucking annoying that if I recall correctly, when one of those fat fuckers was walking to the elevator, he decided to smash his fist on my front door and I nearly killed the bastard. I ran into him, and he just went tumbling down on his fat, sticky, icky, scented ass. I was at the top of my boiling point, ready to shove his balding head right into the cafeteria's bathroom stalls. But being a fat fucking pig who smokes weed all day, he just went crying about it instead of taking the defeat like a man. He was defeated, he didn't take it like a man. I can see why he's in that place to begin with. If I try to remember, I think the guy's name was, Josh? I don't know. Josh McIntosh, maybe? Or John McIntosh? Jonathan Josh McIntosh. Along with Sticky Icky Beer Gut, we had a walking 400-pound Tickle Me Elmo, who was the walking definition of an out-and-about special snowflake. This guy was so fat that he could probably be a shoo-in for a live version of Haruyuki from Excel World. Or Axel World, however you pronounce it, Excel World. I don't know, for fuck's sake, ugh, blah, blah. Can't fucking talk when I fucking want to. But either way, if you replaced every female with an 8-foot Amazon, considering he was like 5'10" and Haruyuki is like 5 foot tall or some shit, then you'd have a shoo-in for Haruyuki from Excel World. Or Haruyuki, blah, blah. The worst thing about his status as a special snowflake is that he's like the man-child version of that one guy at high school reunions, where you have that one guy telling random stories about what he does for a living, and it turns out that he's just a janitor at some shitty office building. Every new person he meets, he tries to impress with some stupid story he makes up. I remember this one story he told me, where he said that he made somebody commit suicide. Like, you know, some guy had him at gunpoint and wanted him dead. Then he told some edgy, nonsensical one-liner about, what's the point of your life? You should kill yourself before you think you can kill me. Like, fucking shit, like, damn, fucking idiot. He even told me a story where he tricked a group of fucking bullies into diving headfirst into a fucking toilet that he put a bunch of cell phone batteries in and shocked them. And what a fucking edgy guy, right? This guy has like the kind of edge you'd expect from a fucking plastic knife trying to go through solid wood. He even tried to tell people that he used to be like a masseuse and could seduce women with his fucking hands. Holy shit, what a fucking alpha, bruh. This is the kind of guy you can tell is like desperate for pussy, and yet so autistic he's willing to grab a girl's like titties and just claim, oh, I'm just playing around, while fucking giggling. The kind of guy who'd claim to be gay just to get away with grabbing a bitch's rack. After that, we had another guy who was like a fucking furry. Let that sink in. A furry. The third floor had like the entire Tumblr collection of people. This furry fucker was so lame that every time he played Grand Theft Auto 4, he'd always get the AK-47, and couldn't comprehend why he, with an AK-47, couldn't fucking kill the group of guys with an RPG. To him, if it was popular, it's the greatest. The dude even wore a fucking collar, for fuck's sake, like a fucking furry collar. I even sung a little song about how the Pilgrims came to kill the Native Americans in such a treacherous way, and he claims that I was being racist to him. And he's fucking white. He thinks just because his family adopted him, that he's related to whomever they are. And the fucking sad thing is that they weren't even related to any Indians. His family is related to a fucking Spaniard with some dumb fucking name. Like some Spaniard called Cortez. If anything, he was basically saying, I feel offended that you talked about Indians and white pilgrims because I have a Spaniard-adopted ancestor who isn't even my fucking relative. He probably considers Tumblr an education, which, if you're gonna, get your education from Tumblr, then you may as well kill yourself. Going to Tumblr is like going to Hitler and asking him what to do about Jewish people. Now we're gonna get into the females of the floors that I lived on. None of them I fucked or anything, considering that they all had some kind of mental case of either bipolar disorder left unchecked, or just being a whore in general. Don't get me wrong, I sure do like an easy lay, but not if I know they've had at least several dudes in them in the last 48 hours or so. So after the Captain Cortez wannabe, we had some bipolar bitch who probably whored herself out to every guy with a lower IQ than her, who would scream she hates you from the slightest joke you make, and had no intention of trying to hold it all in. Her tits were a little small for my taste, but I do have some kind of a fetish for dark-skinned girls. But aside from that, she was weird. She was probably Indian or some shit, so that explains her BS attitude. No. Fuck that. Bipolar my ass. She's Indian. Along with the Indian rage quitter, we have like 3 white girls coming up. I'm gonna have to like nickname them all because I can't just sit here and tell you about them without giving them some kind of name for a good picture for you to come up with. First up on Whitey Whites that needs a bleached pussy is Redneck Whore. She looked like a redneck, her skin was just like dots and stuff all over, and just she kind of had that kind of redneck hairdo going on. She was juggling like 3 dudes at once. She would play with Fatty McBig Mac Snowflake like a fucking gay guy and a girl plays, like cuddling around, rolling around and shit, giving him the false impression that she'll do more than be his first time. And yes, she fucked him and left him. She also was dating the werewolf Cortez fake Spaniard at the same time. She and this other guy who's probably like 6'1" would fuck all the time, but he got her preggers, and she got kicked out. The guy eventually also got kicked out for doing meth or some shit. After her, we had the Valley Girl who never got braces. She was probably a whore too, pretty sure. She had a nice ass. But she would probably be the horniest of all of them, if it wasn't for the last of the whiteys. After that, we had the Russian hook. She was also horny as fuck and juggled multiple people. She was dating the only guy that I met there, who didn't even live there, and he's a genuine friend of mine. But she was like juggling multiple people, and eventually he found out and spat on her face. Now the thing about this chick is that though she was a whore, she's the only one out of them that I really actually felt like fucking. She had some nice tits, a decent ass, though she was a little baby-faced. I wouldn't mind having a one-night stand with her as long as she shows me some medical documents and bleaches her pussy or something. Do that, and I'll be glad to pay her to be my sucablette for a night or two. Before we get into the rest, I'd like to, tell you about the Mexican Banshee. She was this old as fuck Mexican lady who I scared shitless one Halloween when I wore a fucking black skin-tight morph suit and started stabbing myself with a fake sliding knife. She was about to take her trash out till she saw me walking down the hall. I played it nice and cool, just walking down like, with no clothes on other than that skin-tight suit. Then I started stabbing myself with a fake knife. After that, even so much as making spooky noises would have her scream, "Stab it!" And it was really funny too. Like, as I was walking there, I started stabbing myself, and she was just like walking backwards with her trash in hand, like, woo! 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 And she had this really weird walk, like really over-the-top dramatic kind of thing, like from an old play or some shit. Well, anyways, with those whores out of the way, we finally get to the people who I actually liked. We have the Jewish pro wrestler wannabe Robert. He was a nice guy, but he had shoulder problems. You could touch his left shoulder even only a little, and he looked like he was about to suddenly give birth to a xenomorph. After him, we had Adam. I think that's what his name was. You know how you pronounce it? I don't know. Adam, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that's his name. If that is his name, great. This guy was like a trust fund baby. Not that there's anything wrong with it, since he really actually had some physical issues himself. But he was a gamer. But more so your mainstream gamer. Your mainstream gamer who just probably only played like what was hip with the crowd. Ugh. Aside from the residents, they also had some really shitty food. Most of the time, it was like stuff like fish. Really just cheap fish. A really nasty tasting burger that probably tasted worse than anything McDonald's had. And sometimes nothing more than half a can worth of soup and tuna fish. Every now and then they had some greasy fried chicken, or chicken fried steak, or anything that wasn't total shit while still being worse than anything you could probably cook after 10 minutes of watching YouTube tutorials. So it was still shit, but not the worst of it. Just above the worst. We also had this one guy every morning who would fucking scream like a fucking lunatic every morning, and everyone would wake up like he was some kind of fucking alarm clock or something. There was this one old bitch who thought she was the top resident there, and would always tell everyone what to do. And there was this one guy who would keep staring at me until I got ready to confront him. He would usually back down, sometimes he would try to confront me, and several times I threatened to fuck him up. And I could tell he knew what he was doing. Because if he didn't know what he was doing, he's too retarded. No, it wouldn't have worked when I told the staff that he better watch out or I'll have to turn him inside out and we'll actually make him look like a piece of skin and bones, Just turn him inside out, and then his bones will be on the outside. There you go. But yeah, after that, they told him to stop. They were telling him, and he was like, look, okay, fine, stop. But he stopped, He stopped. So he's not retarded. He's just an old, mean motherfucker who thinks he's all that when he's an idiot. Now, finally, the worst part of it, however, was the fact that the rent increased ridiculously within 2 years. I lived there for like a year, right? And it was just $700. Then, like around November of the second year that I lived there, it went to $800 a month for everyone in November of 2014. And last year in June, it went to $900 fucking dollars. $900 for that shithole. Who the fuck is gonna pay that much for that fucking place? When they can get like a larger apartment for cheaper in the fucking ghetto. I don't know, but either way, that's been my story. You know, it's been my story of the worst place I've ever been in. You know, aside from home with your mom. So, sayonara, faggots.
Uh-oh. Easy, big stuff. Nobody's got time for a crybaby. Let's take it like a man, shall we?